We have this inner voice inside of us that's always telling us when something is wrong. That it could be intuition, but it can also be our ego. When we have differences in opinions, we don't realize that our ego is taking those differences and creating an emotion of jealousy or animosity. And how you can become aware of that is paying attention to what your thoughts are doing when someone offends you and you become reactive. And just to pay attention to why you're being reactive. Why is this happening? The ego mind is trying to protect you. It goes into fight mode right away because it feels like it's being attacked. I know from personal experience, my ego was always with me. It took over me at one point. I didn't understand why, but that was until I started to pay attention. And when you get into a state of meditation where you can hear nothing but static and it's almost like really loud winds blowing. But that is all that clutter that's in your mind that you can't get rid of because it's so packed. Because you didn't deal with anything that was unresolved. You just shoved it down and waited for it to grow into, say, a temper tantrum or a violent act. And you didn't even realize it was happening, but that emotion just engulfed you. It took over you. And I know in personal experience that that has happened to me. And that was because I allowed the egoic mind to take over my mind. And when I started to become aware of why these thoughts would arise in my head, I quickly understood that I needed to stop them from growing. It's okay to have an awareness of protection, but it's when the protection overpowers you and you become, say, defensive or reactive to someone else's opinion, even though their opinion doesn't agree with yours. Is it really worth getting angry over? No, because a difference opinion will teach you a lot. And most of my guests on my show have difference in opinions. But if I was to let my ego take over, I would never learn anything. I would never understand different forms of spirituality. I would never understand different forms of healing. Nobody thinks the same. We're all different in mind, in body, in spirit. We may be energetically the same, but we all have difference in opinions. Nobody has the same opinion. That's manipulation. That's brainwashing. A person can think for themselves, but we don't do that anymore. We don't think for ourselves anymore. We let others think for us. It's okay if you have a difference in opinion. What's wrong with having a difference in opinion? It means you are unique. It means you're authentic. That's you. You're not following someone else's footpath. You're following in your own footpath. You're following in your own beliefs, your own journey. And I support you. For example, let's just say, hypothetically, I'm a Trump supporter. How many people right now are angry because I'm a Trump supporter? Probably a lot. But the reason you are angry is because your ego is getting in the way. Instead of asking me why I'm a Trump supporter, the second I say I'm a Trump supporter, the walls go up. Your sword comes out. You're ready for battle. For no reason. Why? Because the ego takes over you. It's a hot ticket. And we don't even know that we're part of the show because we don't see it because we're distracted. But that's the beautiful thing about meditation. When you sit alone in the dark with your thoughts, guided meditations are great, but when you actually sit with your thoughts, like I always sit with my thoughts before I get on camera, and I let everything process. If every single thing that happened in the world, if I allowed it to bother me, man, I would have so much noise in my head. Why? And I did. I allowed myself to have that much noise in my head. I allowed others to think for me. I couldn't think for myself for the longest time. I had to teach myself everything because others thought everything for me. I never really allowed myself to take ideas. I never allowed myself to want help. I wanted to do this all myself. And then I would become defensive when someone would question what I was saying or what I was doing. And that was my ego. It took over me. And for years, I allowed it to dictate and control my life. And because of that, life was very uneasy. Now, when someone has a different opinion, I accept it because even though we have a difference in opinion, you're teaching me something, whether you know it or not. And there's some form of information, because if we all learned from each other instead of arguing with each other, we would all be successful. But also at the same time, I've learned from how we have to have destruction for us to grow. For instance, a lady on my show was telling me that Finland had the highest suicide rate, and we're all complaining about our government not helping us out and everything. Well, this government helped them out. This government made it so they were not struggling. They had everything handed to them. And because they didn't struggle or know what it means to suffer, life became too easy and they became complacent. And then their mental health, it engulfed them and caused them to be depressed, suicidal, and they apparently had the highest rate of suicide. So we complain about our government not doing anything for us. But here's the hidden truth. If our government handed us everything, do you think any of us would learn anything? Do you think any of us would understand how the ego works, how difference in opinion works? If we all thought the same, do you think that, yeah, we'd have peace and all? And I agree with having peace. But then we wouldn't be thinking for ourselves. We wouldn't have difference in opinions. We don't have to be divided, no. But we don't have to think the same. But if we all got along with, if we all just went with what someone else thought and not what we thought, then in Canada we would have the highest suicide rate. And we don't even realize that because we have suffered, so we learned. But to lose something, you attain so much more. And we think that because a family member dies, that life is over. No, life is only beginning. That's the challenge we don't understand. Life is a game. It's going to give you challenge after challenge. It's how you react to those challenges. And subconsciously, your mind will go with how you react and it'll create that reality. And you don't even realize it's happening until you're stuck in, say, a relationship you're no longer happy in, or you're stuck in a job you're no longer happy in. And you give yourself a choice. Do I stay or do I go? Do you do the work or do you not do the work? The choice is yours. But a lot of us just get comfortable and don't even think about that idea. They just become asleep to the idea that they want something more and that we need to suffer to learn. And some of us do need to suffer. I know I had to suffer to learn from my mistakes. And even though my mother being gone, that was the blessing because it taught me about maturity, adulthood, and everything in life. I was the reason for it. You have to take responsibility for what you do. You can't blame others for what's happening to you. The only one you can blame is yourself. And looking in the mirror and seeing yourself day in and day out, you have to learn to love the person you are. And when you start to love the person you are, you start to become more aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and the people around you, what they're thinking. And to try not to get involved in their ideas. Stick with your ideas. It's okay if you're passionate about la resistance or whatever forms of protesting you're doing. But ask yourself, why are you protesting to begin with? Did you want to protest? Or did someone put the idea in your head? Or did you protest because you didn't want to be the odd person out? And you're only following this idea because you're scared that your peers might think differently of you if you don't protest. Now, I know that happens quite a bit too, where we follow people and we don't realize we're following them because we're caught up in their idea. We're not caught up in ours. Maybe we don't want to protest. Maybe we're happy with the way things are. Maybe some people are. If they are, does it really matter? No. But if we allow ego to stand in and dictate that for us, that's a different ballgame altogether. Then a person is considered a traitor because maybe they don't want to protest, or maybe they like the way things are. Well, that's their choice. That's their right. If they want to, then let them be. We can't all think the same. We're all on the same side, but we all have different opinions. And there's going to be destruction and chaos, always, because nothing can be perfect. The example of Finland is the prime reason why. You got to have balance, right? And when you're out of balance, things happen. Chaos happens, confusion happens. That's why there's so much confusion and chaos right now, because of the change, the shifting that's happening. A lot of people don't like it. And that's understandable. That's your difference in opinion. But I'm not going to treat you any different because you have a difference in opinion. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But you also cannot get angry when I don't agree with your opinion, because that is my choice. That is my right. You see how it works? It goes both ways. We don't have to be enemies. We don't have to fight on the same battlefield if we don't want to. But at the same time, we don't have to kill one another or fight each other because we have difference in opinions. I'm putting down my sword, so I have no source of anger or animosity towards anyone for what they believe in, because there's no point. There really isn't. And with time, you'll figure that out. But you have to become aware. And you will, when it's your time, when you awaken. But until then, keep fighting your fight. If that's what brings you love and joy, I support you. Whatever you're doing, but I won't be fighting you. I have no desire to fight you. I have no desire to fight anyone. I am just about being in the moment of stillness and peace. And just taking a breath and letting life take me where it needs to take me. Because I have no control of my life, and nor do you have control of your life. But you'll find out eventually. It will come when you're ready. Or it won't. But either way, I still love you, and I still show you nothing but support in whatever battle or protest you're doing, because that's who you are. But also at the same time, if you're not being you, if you really want to, you can be you. Just believe in yourself. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It only matters what you think. And you're going to continue to understand that. Difference in opinions doesn't matter. Loving yourself unconditionally, that's all that matters. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. I love each and every one of you. Much love, y'all.